Throughout the afternoon, I'm going to take you back to 1702 and a secondhand picture of the landscape through a letter that was written by Cadillac to Louis XIV, 1 year after French settlement of Detroit. He describes a river of sweet water, a river straight of the seas, scattered over its plains and on its banks with large clusters of trees surrounded by charming meadows. And as you'll hear today, Cadillac's letter contains a very rich description of what sounds like another place entirely when you look out over the river today. An earthly paradise of North America, abundant with things that grow and things that crawl and hop and fly and swim and even slither. That place may seem far from our minds today, but as you listen to the music, please try to imagine that place. If you drew an imaginary line from Grand Bend to Toronto, the area south of that line is the only part of the Carolinian life zone in Canada. That area is only about 1/4% of Canada by landmass, but it contains 25% of Canada's population. It's also the most diverse ecosystem in all of Canada, with more endangered and rare species than anywhere else in Canada. There is over 2,200 native plant species, including 70 different tree species, over 400 bird species, and as we'll learn a little later in the show, that's more than half of the bird species that exist in Canada. Over 150 protected species at risk, over 500 additional rare species, and more than 60 rare ecosystem types. But it's also one of the most impacted areas of Canada. And if you look at over the last 300 years, we've lost much of what that place was that Cadillac first described. Ducks Unlimited estimates that we've lost over 95% of our coastal wetlands. We've lost almost all of our tallgrass prairie, and when IRCA was established in 1973, our region contained less than 3.5% natural area cover, and what was left was disconnected with very little interior habitat. But looking back over what's happened in the intervening years, it's hard not to think of this landscape as a paradise lost. But today, even after centuries of development and environmental degradation, there are still traces of that original landscape. And we still find ourselves drawn to those sites where we can escape the pressures of daily life and commune with the natural world that once proliferated here without having to go too far. Together, we are making a difference. I talk about the things that have changed in 300 years, and I can talk also about the things that we've done since 1973, when IRCA was established. We've planted over 6.5 million trees in our landscape. We've restored 10,000 acres of woodlot, wetland, and prairie with municipalities and other partners. Our natural area cover in the Essex region has increased from less than 3.5% to more than 8.5%. That's a lot of work done, but there's still a long ways to go to get to our 12% goal, and that was identified by the United Nations in the 1990s as the minimum amount of natural space that we need to be sustainable. Projects like the ones that we do in our landscape are great ways of bringing our region closer to that goal. As guardians of the Carolinian Life Zone, we are keepers of an important legacy. We're collectively working to restore it, and there is much more work to be done for sure. But with everyone's help, we will get there.